Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Blue Please here on cynicalbrit.com with myself, Total Biscuit. So, let me tell you about this family crisis that I had before the show. So, my wife was driving to an interview, which is at a town about an hour and a half or so away, give or take. And big job. Like, I'm talking like 50 grand a year job. As in, life-changing, fix-all-problems ever job. That she got through several stages of tests before she could even get to the interview. Highly competitive. About 250 people apply for this job. And she calls me, and she can't find the place, because it's an hour and a half away. And she's panicking, and, we're all like, oh God, we're gonna be late. So what we're gonna do, right, okay, Google Maps, quick, let's check around, let's find it as quickly as we can. And she ended up being late for the interview. And yet, regardless of being late to the interview, she still managed to get the job. She managed to beat 250 other people to get the job. So, yeah, I'm going to give congratulations, and as big and epic as I could possibly get on the air, there we go, to my fantastic wife, who's just solved all of our financial issues in about an hour and a half. So, congratulations to her. Very well done. Now, she's actually listening to this right now, so say hi to the audience.
Hi, audience.
Yes, indeed. There you go. Right, I'll speak to you later. I have a show to do. These people, they are pestering me. Well, do you want to... You could do a Titan now, if you like. We can debate this topic.
I don't think your listeners would appreciate that very much.
Maybe not. Okay, right, I will talk to you later. These guys need me to speak on various subjects, so I shall leave. Well, yeah, but we're going to be talking about Shadow Priest talents, by the way. You should send in an email when you get back to the show. I'll read it out next week.
I think I'm going to be partying tonight. Bye.
Indeed. Bye-bye. Right, okay. Yes, indeed. God, I feel so much better after that. Excuse me for 1 second. I've got to do this because I lost my job about 3 weeks ago. Got made redundant, and obviously, when you get made redundant, you're always facing a great manner of things, including the stark possibility of financial ruin. So when I hear that someone actually has a job, may I just say yes? Thank you. Right, so let's get on with the show. Talents, ladies and gentlemen. Wowtal.com is the place you want to be for this particular segment. Wowtal.com. Head over to Wowtal.com and you will get yourself a absolutely wonderful page. Now, the wonderful page will consist of a couple of buttons, 10 in total. You can press these buttons to see the brand new talents in their current beta form. This just went up a couple of days ago as regards to the build. Now, you'll see that there are very few. I'd like you to go over there. You'd like to check it out. So, this segment, I would like your help on, because I don't know what most of this stuff is, because I only play a mage. I will start off with the mage, and there are people who have emailed me in about the other ones. Now, what we want to do to start with is just have an assessment of this, and see whether or not this is, for you, good or bad. There are several trees that Blizzard has already admitted are not in a ideal state, yeah? As in, they are a little bit far behind. Example, here we go. Arcane Mage. Let's see. Yeah, while it's the first pass on all talent trees, Death Knight, Druid, Paladin, Warlock, Arcane Mage, and Assassination Rogue are not as far along as the other specializations. It's one pass only. So don't say, oh god, everything's going to die! Well, it might, but most likely there's going to be several more iterations of these talents before we reach what we're going to get for the release. So you don't need to stress out too much. Right, we'll have a look at mages. And the assessment and the discussion is whether or not this is simply dumbing the talent trees down, or whether or not they've managed to merge them in such a way that actually makes sense and provides more powerful talents early on. Okay. Let's just have a look, shall we? We're going to start by having a look at the fire tree, because the arcane tree is not as far along as they would like. But first, I would like to point out something on the first tier of every single talent tree, right here. Arcane Concentration, Master of Elements, and Frost Channeling. Those are 3 different ways of conserving mana. Arcane Concentration, that's also known as clear casting. 10% chance that your next spell will cost nothing. At least your next offensive spell. Master of Elements. If you crit, you get 30% of the base mana cost of that spell back. Frost Channeling. All spells reduced in cost by 10%. Now, this is kind of dumb to start with. The synergy between these trees doesn't actually work yet. I think there's a lot of work that still needs to be done, because they were saying, oh, well, we want a choice, blah, blah, blah. And you're going to have to invest heavily in one tree to unlock the other 2 for splashing. So, say, you've got to put 31 point talents into, say, Arcane. But then I could spend my remaining, what is it? I think they're going for 41, aren't they? 41 is what they're looking at. I could spend the remaining 10 in whatever the heck I please. And that's going to be Master of Elements and Frost Channeling. Obviously. It's like 30% crit back, 10% reduction across the board, and 10% chance of clear casting. Obviously, I'm going to take all of those. That's not really a choice, is it? But it does interest me that each tree is from the very start getting a mana conservation mechanic. Explain to me why that's necessary. Because from what I've seen, at level 10 onwards, you really don't need that much mana until much later in the game. So, why exactly are we worrying about that again? The way that they've scaled it is that at low levels, they're minimizing the downtime as much as possible, which means you've got big mana regeneration. Looking at this, you've got Frost Channeling, and Master of Elements and Clear Casting, which you can start investing points in at level 10. And you'll have, let's see, you would have Arcane Concentration maxed out at level 12. Because you get 1 point at level 10 now, and 1 point at level 12. You would have Master of Elements maxed out at level 14. Same with Frost Channeling. Why would you need that? That doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? Interesting stuff. Anyway, let's have a look at the rest of the fire ones. So, improve Fire Blast. Cooldown of your Fire Blast is reduced and increases its range. Okay, whatever, big deal. To base talent, it's fairly boring. Incineration increases the critical strike chance of your Fireball, Frostbolt, Arcane Missiles, and Ice Lance by 3%. That is a basic talent. That's actually 4%. That's what happened in the first place. You already had that. Except it's actually been nerfed, by the looks of it. However, they've changed this around because it used to increase the critical strike chance of your Arcane Blast. That is not the case anymore. So it's not a case of, right, I splash fire to get that bonus. Arcane Missiles is in there because Arcane Missiles procs off of everything now. It's not just off of arcane spells. However, there's something to talk about there a little bit later. So let's put some points in. There we go. That unlocks the second tier. Ignite is the same. Burning Soul, now a little bit different. The threat reduction is gone. Threat reduction, that actually disturbs me because I see no threat reduction talents of any sort here. That's weird, isn't it? Now, either threat's going to matter again, and you're going to have to be careful, or threat's not going to matter, which is why they've just taken that stuff out entirely. I really hope threat is going to matter again. Whatever. Burning Soul reduces casting time lost by 70% from damaging attacks. It's slightly different, but not all that much. Impact. 7% chance to cause the next fire blast you cast to stun. That's actually a nerf. It used to be 10%. Molten Shields, this is new. Your Molten Armor gains a 50% chance to affect range or spell attacks. Now, I assume that this is actually broken right now because I put 2 points into it and it's the same, so that's probably 100%. That's a really good talent. That's something that's actually interesting and new, so I'm good with that. Firepower. Increases the damage of your fire-based damage over time effects by 10%. That's a huge nerf. Absolutely massive. But bear in mind that the main mechanic of fire is now going to be dots, because you get Ignite and you get Flash Burn, which is a double Ignite. So that's where a lot of your damage is going to be coming from. They're changing the way that it works. Blast Wave, exactly the same. Blazing Speed, exactly the same. Improved Scorch. Increases the chance to critically hit with Scorch by 20%. On your damaging Scorch spells have 66% chance to cause your target to be vulnerable to spell damage. Yeah, so that's basically the same. It's actually a slight buff, I believe. I don't think Scorch used to get that much crit. Pyromaniac increases spell haste by 10% if 3 or more targets are taking fire damage over time from your spells. There you go again. There's that synergy with the damage over time stuff. It's pretty important. I'll probably spend all of this segment on Mage, and then I'll come back after the break to talk to you about the other stuff. So we'll extend the show a little bit. Combustion. Same as always. Or is it? No, it isn't. When activated, the spell increases the critical strike chance on your next non-periodic fire damage spell by 100%. However, in addition, when that crit lands, all your existing fire periodic damage effects will be merged into the combustion effect, burning at the same rate, but over 10 seconds. That's sick. That's amazing. Think about that for a second. Okay, so periodic fire damage effects. I assume that's Flash, Burn, and Ignite, but it could also apply to Living Bomb. Maybe. Whatever the case, that's amazing, because it combines all of the effects, resets them, and then extends them. That's great. That's really cool. I like that. That's something that's actually interesting. Okay, Hot Streak. This is a interesting change, because Hot Streak now stops arcane missiles from triggering the way that it currently does in the beta, which is on any spellcast. There's a chance that arcane missiles will proc and will become available. Hot Streak. Fire spells no longer trigger arcane missiles. Instead, anytime you score 3 critical strikes with fire spells within 6 seconds of each other, you have a 100% chance the next Pyroblast spell cast within 10 seconds will be instant cast. That's a massive nerf. Or is it? Because that might also count towards your dots. I don't know if your Ignite's critting and your Flashburn critting and your Living Bomb critting counts. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But to me, that seems like a massive nerf across the board. Improved Flame Strike. Increases the damage dealt by your Flame Strike by 20. I don't know what that means. That might indeed be something a little bit different. I assume that's not finished. Might be 20%. Your Pyromania effect also reduces the casting time of your Flame Strike by 1 second. Now, what is the Pyromania effect, you might ask? Well, let me try and find it for you. We looked at Pyromania earlier. Increases spell haste by 10% if 3 or more of your targets are taking fire damage over time. So again, more linking to that dot mechanic. If you proc your Pyromania, it decreases the casting time of Flame Strike by 1 second. So that is pretty cool. Dragon's Breath. This is ridiculous, I think. What is this? So, targets in the cone take damage and a disorientate effect. That's normal. Any direct damaging attack will revive targets. Actually, no, never mind. That's exactly the same. Okay, whatever. I was like, does that resurrect people? What are you talking about? No, that's been changed. Right, okay. Molten Fury. Increases damage with all spells against targets with less than 35% health by 12%. That's pretty much the same thing. Critical Mass increases damage done by Fireball, Frostfire, and Pyroblast by 3% per fire damage effect over time on the target to a maximum of 9%. It's still a nerf, but it's now synergized again with that fire damage over time thing, and Living Bomb, which is basically the same. That's the fire tree for you. Interesting stuff. Okay, let's have a look at Frost briefly. We're not going to look at Arcane because there's not a lot of changes to that yet. It is incomplete. Frost Channeling. All spells 10% mana off. Frostbite. Same as it always was. Shatter. Multiplies the critical strike chance of all of your spells against frozen targets by 3. Is that a buff? I think it is. Or is it? Maybe. I don't know. It's just a different way of looking at it. It's not percentile anymore, so it's a little difficult to tell. Where the hell's the reset button on these things? Okay. Didn't do it at all. Go away. Click, click, click. Yes, indeed. I'm playing Diablo 2 right here. There we go. Yes, indeed. I'm killing Baal at this very moment right here. I'm gonna get epics. Gonna get epics. Gonna get epics. Oh, that was a hardcore character and it died. Oh, such a shame. Right. Okay. Onward we go. Piercing Ice increases the critical strike chance of your spells by... Yeah, that was already in there. That's actually a nerf. They're trying to rebalance it, as you can tell. New talent, Early Frost. Reduces the cast time of your Frostbolt spell by 0.5 seconds. This effect becomes inactive for 15 seconds after use. That's weird. Now, did you notice there is no improved Fireball anymore? At all. Interesting. Makes me think that either they're just going to reduce the casting time of Fireball across the board, or they are going to make it so that Fireball is actually way slower than using Frost, and Frost is a much faster way of dealing damage. Ice Flows. Same as always. Permafrost. Permafrost is different. So you get the duration of your chill effect increased. But also, it reduces the target's healing received by 25%. So actually, Frost now is effectively a mini-mortal strike on all spells. As long as, I believe, if you chill. Yeah, you've got to chill them. So you cast the chilling spell, and then it's a mini-mortal strike. So that's useful in PvP and PvE. Ice Shards adds a chill effect to your Blizzard spell. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay. In addition, it increases your Iceland spell damage by 15%. You're noticing that a lot of these talents are merged, yeah? They're effects that would have otherwise been on separate talents, but they're all in one now. So what you're seeing is each talent point you spend gives you a larger increase in the amount of damage and effectiveness that you get. Some people are going to view that as bad. Some people like to micromanage. Like, I like little talents. I like lots of little talents. Personally, I'm okay for less talents as long as they're bigger and more effective each way. Icy Veins. Pretty much the same, but it also gets rid of your pushback on damaging attacks. Fingers of Frost. Chill effects give a 15% chance to grant you Fingers of Frost, which causes Ice Lance and Deep Freeze to act as if your target were frozen. Yep, it has 2 charges, lasts 15 seconds. New ability, Piercing Chill. Your Frostbolt criticals apply the chill effect to 2 additional nearby targets. That's pretty neat, I like that. Brain Freeze. As far as I'm aware, that looks the same. I think. It also includes Frost Firebolt now. I don't know if it used to. I'm fairly sure it didn't, but again, I don't play Frost. So, Cold Snap. Yeah, Cold Snap is the same. Enduring Winter. Frostbolt spell has 100% chance to grant up to 10 party or raid members mana regeneration equal to 1% of their maximum mana per 5 seconds for 15 seconds. Guys, did you notice that? Up to 10 party or raid members. In other words, it doesn't cover the entire raid anymore. Interesting. So in other words, you're gonna require multiple characters with the mana regen mechanic? That's crazy. Actually, that's great. Thank you. Okay. Ice Barrier. Spellcasting will not be delayed by damage, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it does the same thing. Shattered Barrier gives your Ice Barrier a 100% chance to freeze all enemies within 10 yards. That's the same as it always was. Cold as Ice reduces the cooldown on Cold Snap, Ice Barrier, and summon Water Elemental by 20%. That's pretty low down now. Now here's a new one, Frost Fire Orb. This affects the new spell Flame Orb. It turns your Flame Orb into a Frost Fire Orb and increases your Frost Fire damage by 30%. That's a neat one. I like that a lot. And Deep Freeze. Stuns the target for 5 seconds, only usable on frozen targets, and deals damage to targets permanently immune to stuns. Yeah, whatever. Right, so, conclusion for me on that one. I'll come back after the break to read your emails about the various changes to your class. But what I will say is that, so far, it's okay. It's not as exciting as I think it could be. There's some really boring stuff still in there. Like, stuff like Incineration. Now, I thought we were trying to get away from the baseline, oh, it adds a tiny amount of crit or hit or damage or whatever. That's the kind of thing that needs to be merged into a talent that's more interesting. So take Incineration and throw it into something else. Merge the talents into something that's got an active effect and a passive effect, and then it's more interesting. This right now, it's good. It's okay. There's some things I would still change, but it's not as good as it could be. So I'm hoping Blizzard goes in there and looks at it and said, how can we make each of these really exciting? How can we make it so that each of these things does something really cool? Because if you can't do that, then hire different designers. Because I'm fairly sure I could think of something like that, and I'm pretty sure that thousands of other mages could as well. My name's been Total Biscuit, and you're listening to Blue Please here on CynicalBrit.com. Come back after the break to talk about talents once again with your emails, the Murloc at CynicalBrit.com. I'll be selecting people to talk about there. 1 minute silence right here while I go and get a drink, because, oh, my throat. Yes, indeed. It's good stuff. Shouting is good. I like it very much. Let's play some 1 minute silence, and I'm going to play you a spoonful of sugar. This song may contain some strong language. Enjoy.